Darrell Hammond. Did Darrell request any music?
Yeah.
He did?
Yeah.
He's got this great book out, man. I'm telling you, he's really telling the whole story, and it's quite a story. Guys really had some ups and, boy, a lot of downs, too. A lot of problems, a lot of things he has certainly nothing to be ashamed of, nothing he's responsible for. Some bad brain chemistry to start with. Some parents that were rather abusive, to say the least. And then some bad luck, too, just in terms of, a couple of friends that committed suicide, one whom he found. And then, of course, mixed in all that is this incredible comedy career, as Darrell Hammond was doing successful stand-up in New York and also in Florida. And then finally somebody noticed this guy is really amazing in terms of his impersonations and his voices, just fantastic. And he gets his break on Saturday Night Live finally in 1996. And then he was taken out of SNL in a straitjacket some years later when he was having a particularly tough episode, depressive episode. It's a long, long story, but I tell you, it's a really interesting book, a great read, and a great talent. Darrell, what did he want for music? Really? Mother? I heard he wanted. If you're mistaken. Oh, here he is. Hi, Darrell.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, man.
It's Drew and Mike. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. Thanks.
All right.
Very well. I'm glad to hear you're doing well, because I got to tell you, I picked up God, If You're Not Up There, I'm Effed yesterday, and I've been living your long, hard life, Darrell, and I tell you what a great read this book is, and I don't mean to be not sensitive to the difficult parts, but boy, you've really had a rough ride there, buddy.
I have, and I've been in a lot of hospitals to prove it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say.
Boy, oh boy.
So many doctors have taken so many notes for so many years about me. It's kind of mind bending. Yeah.
But I got the feeling, I didn't finish the book, but I got the feeling that you're on the right track now. At least you got the right diagnosis now, right?
For years, you go in and the doctors would go, well, you're a schizophrenic, or you're a manic depressive, or you're this, or you're that. But what I really was exhibiting the qualities of someone who'd been a prisoner of war. And a couple of the more famous institutions I was in would say, we can't really treat you here. You need to be where they treat prisoners of war.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. What a thing to say. Oh, man, is that ever incredible.
Hey, can I ask you a question about your mother, Darrell? Because, obviously there was abuse there. And, as I'm reading what's going on, she tells you to put your hand there, and then she slams the door on your hand. And there's, incident after incident, and they're all equally horrifying. Did she have that, what's it called, Munchausen syndrome? Where mothers make their kids...
Yeah, I think it was where you get serenity by relieving the pain that you've just inflicted. Yeah.
Okay. I wonder if that's different. I think Munchausen's when you want your child to be ill so you get attention.
Oh, okay. I understood it a little bit differently. There basically is a huge payoff of making your child ill and and hurting your child.
I'm sure you understand it much better than I do. But it's basically that's sort of what it is. It is Munchausen's and what she had.
Well, a couple of people have said that, but all I know was she tortured me. And,
yeah. Yeah, that's good enough.
I've been to 40 or 50 doctors since I was 19 years old.
And where was your father in all of this?
He was a traveling salesman, gone at least 2 weeks a month. He sold sporting goods up and down the coast of Florida. So there was plenty of time to be alone in the house with her. I mean, my sister went online recently and wrote about how my mom used to beat her up until my sister had to be about 15 years old and kicked her ass one time.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
How about that?
But see, there was beyond, like we were talking about this, the terrible things, this electrical outlets and, I mean, really, really violent things that went on for so long.
Yeah,
and
sticking his fingers in the outlets and, my God.
And let me ask you, with the self-mutilation, Darrell, you were talking about during your long, in fact, longest ever for anybody on SNL at 14 years, that through all that time on medication. And when the medication didn't work, or drugs, what have you, you would resort to self-mutilation. What is it that would do for you? I know somebody that had that issue for a number of years, that self-mutilation. We always wondered what was at the heart of that. What is that all about?
There's a couple of reasons. One is it gives you complete control over you. When someone's torturing you, you have control that they don't have. But also, it creates a smaller, more manageable crisis than the one that's going on in your head, which cannot be managed, and which, sometimes I would just fall down. I mean, these things would come back to me, and I would just fall down. There was one really important sketch on Saturday Night Live when I was playing Al Gore in the Gore-Bush debates, when I was on the carpet in my dressing room, and I had to find a way to get out there, and so I cut myself, and that created a new crisis which I could manage and a sense of stability so I could walk out there and do the bit.
Oh my God, that's incredible. Just amazing.
Hey, Darrell, I was reading the part yesterday about where you were invited to the inauguration, I think in 97, and of course you had problems with alcohol, and you had sort of a strange bender. I think you found Grand Marnier. Am I in the right incident there?
Yeah. I went into, there was like this crazy cool hotel. I was invited to Clinton's inauguration. I forget the name of it. It's just amazing, Washington, D.C. hotel. And I checked in there, and we flew on the plane with Katie Couric, and it was a fabulous day. And I guess at that time I'd been sober about a year, and I walked into my beautiful hotel room, and there was a Grand Marnier display on the table, and my brain thought, I guess it's time for me to go back to the hospital.
Wow.
I didn't even think about it. I was like, I don't even drink Grand Marnier. I'm doing it right now.
Thank God you have such an incredible sense of humor to help you deal with all this. I mean, it's got to be helpful. I would never wish this on anyone, but your sense of humor has got to help you through this, Darrell, right?
Once I wasn't ashamed of it anymore, once it was explained to me that that aberrant behavior is not an airborne virus, it comes from something specific, I realized that it wasn't my fault. Now that I knew what the problem was, was in charge and had the responsibility of recovering, but I realized it wasn't my fault, and I thought, and then it was I don't mind joking about it. No.
What happens when you blow off the inauguration of the president? I mean, I'm sure you had some little role to play in there. Did you call in sick, or did you just not show? Did you ever hear about what came of that whole?
No, someone that worked at NBC saw me walking down the hall, weaving from side to side, and said, "You're going back to New York. You're not going to embarrass the National Broadcasting Corporation at this presidential inauguration today, bro. You're going home." And the last thing I remember was being on the floor of Dulles Airport in a tuxedo, on my back, unable to speak. Yeah, and people trying to help me.
Oh man! Wow.
Oh,
so, but was there something scheduled where you and Clinton were supposed to speak together or something like that?
No, we had met. I've met Clinton and exchanged pleasantries with him a few times, but that day I was just scheduled. It was just the honor of having a great seat at a presidential inauguration.
Oh, okay.
It was a huge deal.
Very cool, yeah.
And I blew it.
Did Bill Clinton, by the way, do you think he enjoyed your impersonation of him?
Nobody's ever been nicer to me. I mean, I was alone in a room with him, as alone as you could be with a president. There was Secret Service at the door. But we had about 5 minutes together backstage at an event in Beverly Hills. Afterwards, he went on stage without a script, did 47 minutes up there, and mentioned me twice. It was a huge deal.
Wow. Who clearly did not enjoy your impersonation of them?
I don't think Jesse Jackson was really happy about
it. Leave it to Jesse Jackson.
Was there anything about the impersonation that bothered him, or do you think he just didn't like the whole idea of being impersonated?
That was a very sincere, detailed impersonation that I worked on for around 10 years. In fact, I did that at the Apollo Theater in Harlem. And you think if you're ever going to get booed for doing Jesse Jackson, it would be there. But I wasn't like taking cheap shots at him. I was doing an accurate impression of him, and they went crazy.
I bet they did. Wow. Is there an impersonation you do that you feel like, I absolutely have this person so nailed and down? I mean, one that you like above all the other ones you do?
Honestly, I used to think it was Ted Koppel.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I used to...
it's very good.
I was at an event that was honoring him one night at the Museum of Broadcasting in New York City, and I came dressed as him. And I walked up to him, and I was so frightened, so terrified of him. And I said to him in his voice, I was so frightened, I said, "Are you mad at me?" And he said, "No, I'm not mad at you. Give me the microphone." And Rune Arledge was sitting there next to him, and he said, "Rune, you cheap bastard. If you paid me a living wage, I could afford a decent wig like this guy has on."
Oh, God.
My God.
What a strange world to be mixed up in.
Oh, my God. I think you've done something like 107, I thought. I read impersonations. So many that's so great. I'm trying to remember your Geraldo, though. Can you whip up your Geraldo right quick? Or I'm trying to remember that one.
I did Geraldo for Geraldo last week, as a matter of fact. I don't remember how I did it. I prepared for about an hour, and
yeah.
he was really complimentary.
Well, he has a certain speech pattern and a really overly descriptive way of putting things, Yeah,
I mean, it's sort of like nefarious. Osama bin Laden was here only moments ago.
Yes.
I had him in a headlock. I need him in his dastardly groin.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah, he was always really kind to me as well.
Yeah,
you mentioned. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Also, Drew and I, for some reason, we just love Sean Connery. Also,
I was just going to say that the Sean Connery in the game show, the Jeopardy thing, which Will Ferrell had a great time with. But what is that thing where the category was the pen is mighty or something, and you asked for what?
I believe it. He said, "I'll take penis mightier for 15.
and that was the bit. You turned it into something sexual, basically, every title.
Yeah, and it's bizarre that with all the things that I did, that one impression is the one that keeps going from generation to generation. So, college kids today will yell out punchlines if they see me in the street, and they'll do the impression.
Is that right? God, that's got to be a great feeling.
Oh, yeah. I did a play at this theater last summer, and all the interns were college kids. And, I mean, they would just yell. I mean, I was having a cigarette one day, and one of them yelled out, "Moo!" And I went, "What? Moo?" And the kid, it was like a 20-year-old kid, goes, "That's the sound your mother makes." I don't know why. That is going to be the most popular thing I've ever done, and that's fine with me.
Isn't that funny how that can be?
Yeah.
When something like that just pops.
It doesn't make any sense that Sean Connery hates Alex Trebek or that he's not bright.
No,
right,
no, not at all. But it really works. It works so well. And I got to say, what you do, you're so good at it, and it had to be good because the point you made it on Saturday Night Live, people's Saturday Night Live careers are usually, on the later end. How old were you when you got on Saturday Night Live?
Oh, I was an old dude. I mean, I was 39 years old, but Phil Hartman was in his 40s, and he had just retired, and they needed someone to play Clinton who could do other voices as well, and Marcy Klein, now a producer on 30 Rock and also at SNL, saw me at Caroline's in New York. I had one line in my act as Bill Clinton, and based on that, she brought me in for Lauren, who was like, "Oh, man, why are you bringing this octogenarian in my oh, come on."
Oh.
But I was doing impressions for him, and about 3 minutes into it, he was watching me very intently, and it was a hell of an honor. I'll tell you that.
God, that had to be nerve-wracking. I mean, was it? I mean, to stand...
It was, but it's one of those things where my brain figured out pretty quickly that the price of panicking in that situation would be a disaster beyond all proportion.
Yeah, yeah.
I just told myself I am not panicking, no matter how frightened I am. I mean, when he said hello to me, I actually felt my cheeks flutter. I was so scared.
Wow.
Oh, I can imagine. And why is it, we've talked about the 14 years, the longest time ever for anybody on the show. And given the issues that you had that we talked about earlier, the mental issues and all that, I'm guessing because you speak so fondly of your castmates and their support for you through all of it, obviously he must have been one of them, especially I think I read where you went out of there in a straitjacket once, but I mean, some people that have been on SNL told some pretty grim stories about him and being a very difficult guy. He likes to set people up to fight with each other. It's tough to get bits on the air, a lot of competition. And there you are with these issues, but outlasting everyone.
Yeah, he never treated me like that. I mean, I was never a sketch player. I was a special teams player. And I wasn't really part of that entire process. I was on call to learn voices fast.
I see.
And so I know I was in a different capacity than anyone in the history of the show had ever been.
Wow.
So he was kind to me, but he expected a lot. And as long as I delivered, he let me keep the job. I mean, the reason I left was I had my second stalker, and I don't know if you know what it's like to go looking over your shoulder because someone wants to kill you. But I had one that was put in jail, and then when the second one came after my 11th year, I didn't like that. I didn't want it again. I did not want to be in fear of my life again. I was leaving NBC in a car underground the same way President Bush did.
How totally unfair for you after all you'd been through in your life to then have to deal with stalkers trying to kill you. Jesus Christ, there's something unfair about that. My God.
I didn't. You know what? It's hard to do an impression when you have NYPD detectives standing 10 feet in front of you looking around to see if anyone has a knife.
Oh, I guess.
That's really hard. It's hard to do an impression. And I remember there was this one, I went out to play Speaker of the House, Dennis Hastert, and I was so scared I could not do an impression. I did it in my voice. I was so scared. There were cops standing right in front of me because they had recently, there was a major female singing star there. They had recently found someone had smuggled in a plastic knife capable of stabbing and killing. And so you have these cops, great guys, God bless them, looking in the audience, and they're 10 feet in front of you, and I was like, I don't want this anymore. I do not want this anymore.
Well, I was wondering why you quit. And I know you've come back several times since then, and but you went so long. It was what brought it to an end. But I certainly get that.
Hey, Darrell, is there?
I was tired of it. I didn't want to do it again.
Yeah.
Is there a?
At that time, go ahead.
I was just going to ask if there was a character or an impersonation that you really were just dying to get down, and for some reason or other you just really have struggled with, or you're still working on.
No, I'm not. I mean, what I'm working on now is former Louisiana Governor Huey P. Long. I'm down here in Louisiana at this moment doing research on this guy, and I want to play him sometime on stage.
Your impersonations are so dead on, and I swear, even on Saturday Night Live, which is a great show, there are a lot of people who impersonate people. I don't want to pick on anybody in particular, but they do people, even the current president and some past presidents, and they're not there. I mean, they might hit it on a certain word or so, but you are so far above and beyond most people that do impersonations, and it sounds like you spend probably a lot more time than most people do on it. Is that true?
I did. I mean, when I was 27 years old, I decided I wanted to get good enough to get paid. And right. I began with the thought in my head of making one improvement a week, just one specific, distinct improvement a week. And by the time I was 39 years old, I was pretty good, and Lauren Michaels gave me a shot.
God, if you're not up there, I'm effed. Darrell Hammond, boy, it's a really interesting and honest book, and sure is fun to talk to you, Darrell. I hope we can get you back on sometime. If you ever come through town, we'd love to meet with you.
All you got to do is ask, and I'm there.
Thanks a lot, Darrell. Good luck with the book.
Okay.
Good luck with everything, man. See you, bud.
Bye-bye.
Okay, take care. Bye.
See you. Oh, man.
What a crazy nice guy.
He is so good.
Man, oh, man. Terrific guy.
And we just scratched the surface. He does so many people really well. John McCain and
yeah.
Dick Cheney and
Oh, God, it's
Chris Matthews. And...
that stuff is just right on. Looks like him, sounds like him.
Is there anyone who even can touch him in terms of nailing people?
And I tell you, and we've talked about this before too, is that impersonation, some people get the voice down, but what the character is saying is so stupid that the impersonation is no good, you know? I mean, you can get the voice down, but if there's not something being said that's interesting or witty or downright hilarious, it falls flat. You've got to have the whole package, you know?
And when you see Darrell, do the people that he does and hit them just right on the nose. Yeah. And then you see, like, for example, Fred Armisen does Obama. It's just so. I mean, I don't know. Do you think he sounds like Obama?
No, he's got a little bit of that going, but that's kind
of what I mean. He sort of has
make it clear that that stutter speech and a bunch of this, and I think what we need to do is find a way. He's just talking like this, and he just keeps doing it like this, and a bunch of this, and a bunch of that, but there's still more to it, and there's so many things he can do with the Obama character. Oh my God, I mean he can. Oh my God, there's no end to that, and he's not exploring any of that. So yeah, I think it falls short. He looks a lot like him. And
with the makeup and the hair, they do a decent job on him. I
just wish he would. I just wish the dialogue, the actual words coming out of him, were a little snappier.
I think people have a hard time sometimes just finding out what's funny about a certain person. Like with Sean Connery, there really isn't anything that funny, so he made up these ridiculous characteristics about Sean Connery, and it makes it's hilarious. The fact that he turns these categories, he misreads them and turns them into something filthy dirty. Every single category on Jeopardy, which is ludicrous. Why would he do that? Although we do know that that one crazy line he had, which no one will ever understand, is when he made that comment about Julia Roberts' pubic hair.
Yes.
At least her armpit hair is as long as her pubic hair. Is that what he said?
Yeah. Yeah.
What the hell?
Started that whole pubic hair.
Pubic hair. Pubic hair.
Pubic hair.
Yeah, it's the place you start the impersonation.
That's where it starts from there. Yeah, that's like the exactly. That's the pitch pipe for starting the impersonation.
I didn't realize. I knew he worked hard on these things, but he spends really a lot of time researching for little nuances.
Well, look at this, man. He's actually down south spending a month studying somebody.
We totally wasted his time.
And ours.
The book has really, it never stops entertaining, because when he's not filling you in on his career, which has been, a really slow developing career. I mean, you're sitting there going, when is this guy going to get on SNL? He's in his 30s now, for crying out loud. He finally gets there. He, of course, takes off like nobody's business. But when he's not working on his comedy, stand-up, or advancing his career somewhere, he is busy living the most crisis-filled life you'll ever read about. My God.
Jesus.
Between the parents and what they did to him, just abused him horribly, to two of his dear friends committing suicide when he was in his 20s, which is pretty horrible. To the alcoholism, to the psychosis, to the cutting, to the crack smoking. I mean, he's done it all.
How has he survived? I'm amazed he's alive.
Hmm.
And isn't that something, that his mother abused him so much that it's had the same effect on him as a soldier who's had their minds blown, in combat with that post-traumatic stress syndrome, and that he would have something like that afflict him because of the treatment of his mother? Oh, my God. I mean, that just blows my mind to hear him tell that story, that these psychiatrists that couldn't figure out what was wrong with him said, you need to be treated for post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Yeah.
Because of what your mother did to you. That's amazing.
And that really was, that was the one guy that got it right, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jesus.
Yep. It was his salvation.
Well, he seems like a really nice guy, and so a lot of times in a person's writing style, I can tell whether I would like them as a person or not, and he seems very likable.
Yeah, sure does seem that way in the conversation.
Yeah, and you can't help but root for him. My God, someone's been through all this, from his parents and family, and jeez. Again, God, if you're not up there, I'm effed. Tales of Stand-Up, Saturday Night Live, and other mind-altering mayhem from Darrell Hammond, and that was Darrell with us right here on the Riff, 101 WRIF.
101 WRIF and WRIF HD1 Detroit. Drew and Mike.
To keep it real. Know what I mean, son? Not really.
101 WRIF. Everything that rocks.
It's back, and you don't want to miss it. The incredible...